Welcome to the wild, wild west of Canada. Look at all the snow. Oh yeah, we got lots of snow. And it's wild, the amount of snow we're getting. And it's also Friday the 13th in January. Who would have thought that? So, anyways, this is the home of the maple leaf, home of the cone syrups, as far as I know. And in this game, Evil West, you are one of the last agents fighting this sort of underground vampire colony, as far as I know, across all of America. And having only played a small portion of this game, I assume you find out that they're trying to take over America and you've got to stop them. Or so I assume. So it feels like a looser third-person Gears of War with, you know, an arcade Devil May Cry look and like the gritty attitude of Bulletstorm. Like as soon as I started playing this, I'm like, man, I played this game, I don't know if it was 10 years ago, and it was called Bulletstorm, and it tried to be Duke Nukem without having Duke Nukem, and then they added Duke Nukem. So hey, maybe they'll add Duke Nukem to Evil West and he'll be fighting vampires. Who knows? So the game supports co-op, which I can see making this game feel like a lot more fun playing it with a friend. But you know, there's also like perks and upgradable weapons sort of stuff, which is kind of neat that you can upgrade your gear. Enemies feel like, to me, like sort of like modern takes on Doom enemies. Like they're sort of like the typical imp kind of creature that doesn't do a lot of damage. In this, he doesn't seem to fire any fireballs or anything. Just he's sort of there for you to practice on. And then from there's like this Frankenstein sort of character. And then from there, you know, there's the big bulkier enemy. So beyond that, I didn't see it. I didn't play all 16 missions. I didn't have time to do that, to do the review. But yeah, it really feels like, before the involvement of guns in this game, it feels like, you know, like Devil May Cry, like, and like you're just like doing uppercut moves and knocking enemies, like you're juggling enemies in the middle of the Wild Wild West. And it kind of reminds me of the other Bruiser games that came out on the I think it was the Wii, made by Sega. I can't remember the name right now, but you probably, if you've been playing video games, you know which game I'm talking about. There were a few brawlers released in that era which really play like this, or this plays like that. Yeah, and then once you're able to fire pistols, I feel like this game suddenly gets, dare I say, like a shot of life, and it gets more interesting. You start firing your pistols, you don't have to like go right up close to these enemies, which can do, like, one hit will take away half your life bar, which really bites. But I found the dodging was essential, and I feel like this game became like a strafe fest as well before the pistols, and then it became like, hey, I can be the cool dude with my, you know, firing off the pistols. And then the game totally changed for me. It became a lot more fun with the pistols and guns. So yeah, it definitely makes the game seem more enjoyable, and like it's less cheap than you run into like a room of baddies and you have to like punch them all out. Like that seems kind of ridiculous. And like I died a few times even on normal. I was like, what, me dying in a video game? And the graphics, without a doubt, are the greatest highlight to this, playing this game. Like it really feels like you're immersed. You know, you see gorgeous western backdrops at night, sunset. Just really gets you into that feel, the western feel of the game. And the game really, and there's daytime as well, so at that point it starts to feel like Red Dead Redemption, and this game at times felt like an arcade version of that, Red Dead Redemption. It just, most of the time it looks like a darker Red Dead Redemption, sort of get me moodier one. And it has like demons and other creatures from mythology as well. Now the game is fun in shorter bursts, but I feel like it's not a constant action game like Doom Eternal. And like, I guess myself and a lot of people came into this game thinking, hey, this is gonna be like a non-stop action fest. Look at the art shown off for this game. Like it's such an action game. It's constant, you know, adrenaline flowing. And when you play it, it's not really like that. Like when I played it the first time, I felt like the controls seemed off. I don't know if they feel loose or what, but like I just feel like a lot of the writing also gave me a feel of like deja vu, again, going back to Bulletstorm, like the gritty character, the people swearing, like cowboy swearing, I'm like, okay, this immediately brought back those memories of Bulletstorm. And just the writing, like everyone's got an attitude, everyone's making jokes, and like I think if it was like a darker game like Bloodborne, I think it would be a little bit I'd sort of like that kind of mood, that vibe better personally. But yeah, like I feel like a lot like Bulletstorm. I feel like this game, Evil West, has a similar fate, where there's some awesome action. You're in an arena, you take out a bunch of guys, and then you walk over, and then you know you have to walk over and like jump over and do a climbing, or like a climbing section, or like crouch under something, and like it really takes away from the action. I feel like at that point, like for a game that to me that feels like an action game, like just all these segues of where you're not doing anything sort of exciting, it feels like it doesn't make the action seem more intense. It just sort of kills that vibe of like, oh yeah, you know, I'm in an action game, I'm the hero. It feels like, no, I'm the dude just walking around a canyon, which I felt like kind of killed the cool vibes. But as good as yeah, as cool looking as the game is, and as the baddies look, like this game is highly repetitive and really feels like a game from like the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era. Not necessarily in a bad way, but like the story is very light. The cutscenes are amazing, but like just the general gameplay, like it feels like you're in a hallway arena action fest with very little enemy variety, and just this feels like a game that got released like 5-10 years late, even though it didn't. I don't know when they started development, probably a few years ago, but it feels like it belonged in a different era. And just there's no puzzles, there's no real exploration. Like you walk around and maybe sprint around, but like you're not really jumping from action scene to action scene. Like Doom Eternal's the best example I can have. If you play, you know what I mean. It just I just guess everyone was expecting for like a 3D, like a first-person shooter or like some sort of shooter, and instead we got this like action game, which for better or for worse. And some people either seem to really love this game, and other people are kind of disappointed that there's so much punching involved, really, at least at the start of the game. So it's a game that really looks modern, fresh coat of paint, and in fact it plays like a game from at least 2 generations ago, back when games didn't really need a story or didn't really need to have like in-game cutscenes. Even though this game does have in-game cutscenes, it just feels like I don't know, it just feels like there's not like a pacing, like there's not pacing involved in this, like a lot of modern games try and achieve. And it's going for $64.99, and despite the impressive graphics, as I said, the gameplay feels dated, done before. If you play the game in short bursts, you'll probably like it. You'll enjoy it as a 7.5 out of 10 action title. Just underneath the fresh coat paint, fresh coat paint, and there's different gameplay tropes that are tried true as the typical showdown in the Wild Wild West. So as long as you realize that you're going into a game that looks modern but plays like something from 2 generations ago, you're okay. Keep on riding, cowboy, and keep on gaming. Alright, I'm out. Bye.